And we are back, and I am back from my weekend away, and it is time to talk about what happened in the Brighton versus Manchester United game. And for me, there is really only one place to start, and it's not going to be the Joshua Zirkzee disallowed goal, but we will get to that. It's going to be Brighton's 95th minute winner. A winner which the stats are telling us this morning is the sixth beyond the 90th minute winner we have suffered since Erik ten Hag took over. Something that only happened to us twice in the previous 100 years before Erik ten Hag took over. Just let that sink in for a moment. In 100 years, we only conceded 2 winners beyond added time. In the last 2 years, we have conceded 6 winners beyond the 90-minute mark. And that's not including, of course, all of the equalisers we've conceded in that time as well. I think about the Brentford game last year. I think about the Chelsea game last year where we conceded beyond the 90th minute before we then conceded the winner beyond the 90th minute. It's happened an awful lot, and it shows a real lack of defensive discipline and defensive fight and the mentality again of Manchester United players when it comes to the latter stages of games. And yes, we've still had late winners ourselves, and we've still had late goals ourselves, even last week. Even though it wasn't beyond the 90th minute, Zirkzee's goal was, the 87th, 88th minute? So we can prove that we've got fighting spirit. And to be honest, I'm not actually going to blame the spirit or the mentality of the players for Brighton's last minute winner, should I say, yesterday. I'm going to go on about, once again, the defensive setup from a corner. Because the question everyone's asking is, how did Brighton end up with so many players at the back post? Well, I'm going to show you. Here is Brighton's corner. And obviously, we know that the ball is going to eventually end up here at the back post. And the question is, why do Manchester United have no left back? Well, I'll tell you why. The left back is being lined up here in the right back position. The right back is at left centre back. The right centre back is actually just about at right centre back. And the left centre back is up here. Because this is how we defend corners. We get our 5 tallest players and we put them in a box around Onana. Then we put our 2 shortest players in Mainu and Martinez on their biggest threats. And to be fair, actually, Zirkzee is our tallest player. So he's actually up here. So I'm actually a little bit surprised he's not in this mesh. But I guess he's there for the counter-attacks. Garnacho, once again, is doing nothing. Anthony is supposed to be marking him. But the ultimate factor is, as to why we end up without a left back, is because our defence is completely out of shape. Dalot, the left back, is at right back. Mazraoui, the right back, is the furthest over of the back 4. And as we run this through, the initial ball gets headed clear. And it comes out now. And this is where the problem starts. So Anthony puts in a challenge here. It doesn't come out well, and the ball gets cleared out again. So now we stop it again. Now let's see where everyone is. Dalot is now still at right back. Mazraoui is also at right back. Martinez is still the 4th furthest player forward, and De Ligt is now our furthest one across. This is what happens when you don't have the correct setup from defensive set plays. If Dalot was actually on the left-hand side, where he should be because he is the left back, from the initial setup of the corner, he would have stayed on the left. Mazraoui, you could argue, needs to have that little bit of sense to go right. Dalot's over here, so I need to stay on the left. But ultimately, that's not his job. His job is to be the right back. So if I wheel it back 5 seconds, when that ball gets cleared, you'll see Mazraoui come round here. So he's just trying to get back into his natural position because Dalot's just walking because he thinks the ball's about to be cleared. It doesn't. It gets recycled. It comes back in. And now when the ball comes into the back post, here's your situation. Adingra's about to put the cross in. Pause it there because of the offside check. And here's your back 4. Left back, left centre-back, right centre-back. McTominay's one of the 2 forwards. So you got to ask, why is Casemiro here? Because Casemiro should be dropping in. Mainu's in the right position. He's the right centre holding midfielder. Anthony's back in the right wing position. Garnacho thought there was a counter-attack, so he's away on the left-hand side. But you could also make an argument that the moment that ball was not turned over efficiently by Anthony in the initial tackle, why has Garnacho sped off up to the left wing? Because Brighton got the ball back again. But this is how this situation has come about. It's not about how we ended up here at this point in time. It's about why we started here. Why is it, as we look at Ten Hag trying to figure out why it actually happened, why is it did we start with the back line like this? It makes no sense, and it leaves us so vulnerable on set pieces over and over and over and over again. We've brought in this new guy to help us defend and do better on attacking set pieces. We're 2 matches into the season. We're doing everything exactly the same. That's how we lost this game. And obviously, I'm going to go into all the other factors in a minute as well. But ultimately, the key moment of this game, we have lost again and we have conceded again because the defensive setup on set pieces just isn't right. And you could literally make one simple change and I don't think this goal happens. And that is you take Casemiro and you take Dalot and you swap them round. Or you take Dalot and put him on the left, put Casemiro where Mazraoui is, and put Mazraoui where Dalot is. You do that, the team is still set up defensively exactly the way it would be once the play opens up again, whilst keeping it zonal. Because don't forget, these players, they're not marking anyone. This is purely for a zonal effect. These are the players that are marking people. Why it's Mainu marking Van Hecke. Why it's Martinez marking, I can't tell who that is, but he's significantly taller than him. I understand Zirkzee marking Dunk. But other than that, why are the short players marking the tall players? And why are the tall players marking absolutely no one? And if they are marking absolutely no one, why are they in zones which puts them out of place in the actual formation that we're playing? If you can answer me that, please do. But that's why Brighton scored this goal at the back post. That is why Manchester United have once again lost the game in added time. Beyond that, because obviously there is a lot more at play than just that Brighton goal. The first goal isn't great from Harry Maguire, and I know about Erik ten Hag saying that there were individual mistakes that led to both of Brighton's goals. I mean, clearly the individual mistake, in my opinion, is from him for having that defensive setup on corners, or by the new set-piece coach for having that defensive setup on corners. But obviously the first goal, you do have to have a look at Harry Maguire. But again, I still think it comes down to the system. Erik ten Hag does not want players just hoofing the ball out into touch. He wants people to play. So when Harry Maguire sees that ball come across, he knows he can clear it. You can see it quite clearly. He actually gestures like this to say, I'm letting this ball run through because I'm not going to clear it. He could have cleared it with his left foot back out the way it came. He could have cleared it with his right foot out for a corner. You see him put his arms out and let it go through. That's obviously a mistake from Harry Maguire. I'm not going to put any blame on him for the ball back in the middle. The ball back in the middle from Karan Matoma was absolutely world class. Mazraoui closed him down. Maguire was in a good position in the middle. And if Danny Welbeck wasn't 6'3", they wouldn't have scored that goal. Because Matoma puts it on absolute sixpence. And Welbeck gets full stretch. It comes off his stud and it goes in. So it's a good ball from Matoma. But obviously Maguire could have cleared it on the initial phase of play, which is disappointing. From there, I think we played some good football. I really do. I thought we attacked well. I thought we created good opportunities once again. The big issue, which I know they talked about on Match of the Day, was offsides. And the prime culprit, again, was Marcus Rashford because he was being too lazy. Yes, he makes runs. And we've seen it from Rashford his whole career. When he makes these runs in behind, he doesn't make the effort to get back onside again. The other problem is, half the runs he makes in behind are from an offside position in the first place. So when he throws his arms up because he's not getting the ball, it's because he's offside. He then has the audacity to substitute Bruno Fernandes for not creating enough opportunities. Well, he got the ball in the position, he looks up and he sees that Rashford's offside. So his only option is to either play it sideways to Garnacho or into play with Mason Mount or Joshua Zirkzee because there's no one far enough further forward. So the shape for me just didn't look right. It didn't work as well with Mount in the first half. I spoke about it in the Fulham game. My problem with Zirkzee is that he was too deep. And again, we'll lead up to the disallowed goal shortly because of that. But that's where the problem is. We're not playing a recognised striker. If you tell Zirkzee to just stay up front, I'll be interested to see what actually happens because he's not playing up front. He is playing as another number 10. We're playing Bruno and Zirkzee on top of each other. We're obviously playing Mount and Bruno on top of each other. And then we sort of tried to change it, put Rashford up front, but he's no good up front anymore. We then put McTominay on to play Zirkzee and McTominay sort of as a 2 up front. But again, neither one of them was really trying to break in behind. They were both sort of looking to get on the ball. We've not got an actual figurehead up front to be the focal point of the play when Rasmus isn't available. So I'm looking at it now going, surely we need to be signing a striker, a big hold-up player, in these last few days of the transfer window if we're going to be successful. I know there's a lot of talk about Ivan Toney. And to be honest, I think that's a much more pressing concern right now than the whole Ugarte-McTominay thing, because I still think the midfield does need a little bit of improvements, but ultimately we're lacking a striker. And look, the goal that we did score was a really good goal from Ahmad. Good play around the midfield again. Again, I thought our build-up play was fine. It's just that final third where we struggled. And the ball came out to Ahmad. He did what he's been doing so well the last 6 months. Get on the ball, beating his man, coming inside, takes the shot and scores. But again, unlike with Anthony after he came on, Ahmad was going both ways. He was putting crosses in to no one because there was no striker. Or he was coming in, sometimes whipping it, sometimes shooting. Ultimately, that resulted in a goal. Now we'll talk about the Zirkzee incident. And this is why I keep putting emphasis on the fact that he's starting from too deep. Bruno Fernandes has obviously tried to find Garnacho with that pass. You can tell by the pace on the pass. If he takes a little bit less off that pass, it would have gone to Zirkzee in the first place and Zirkzee would have scored. But because Zirkzee wasn't up with play, because he started from too deep, he wasn't there to get on the end of that cross from Bruno. If Højlund was there instead of Zirkzee, Højlund would have had a much further starting up position that when Bruno played that ball across, Højlund would have scored a tap-in. Instead, Bruno has to go to Garnacho because Zirkzee was never going to get there with the pass that he thought he was going to have to make. It comes across to Garnacho. Garnacho gets his touch on the ball. And because he was coming from so deep, because he had to accelerate to that much speed to get up with play, unfortunately, he can't do anything about it when it hits his knee. The ball's travelling so fast. What's he supposed to do? Mid-slide, sort of like fall over and stop it from going. Of course, he can't do that. It's just never going to happen. And unfortunately, it comes off his knee. And unfortunately, the rules state that that is offside. And I've noticed in a lot of people online saying, well, the ball was going in anyway, therefore the goal should stand. His touch doesn't affect anything. Well, it does, because the rules state if you're in an offside position and the ball touches you, you're offside. It's as simple as that. There's no magic rule whereby, oh, the shot was going in, so therefore it's not offside. The best way I can sort of describe this is that, say someone takes a shot from 25 yards that's going in the bottom corner and the goalkeeper's never going to get there, but then it deflects off the striker and then goes in the opposite corner. Well, it's going to be offside, isn't it? Because even though the goalkeeper was never going to save it, that touch has still resulted in the ball going in the back of the net, even though it had gone in anyway from an offside position, so it's offside. Just because the ball was literally on the goal line and it hit Zirkzee's knee and nothing would have made any difference at all, doesn't change the fact that it's offside. So I'm not going to sit here and complain about that goal being disallowed for offside. What I'm going to complain about is why we're playing a centre forward that isn't in the position to score from the initial pass rather than then the cutback in the first place. And that, again, comes down to the management of the team. And then I'll end it with asking why the hell Erik ten Hag made the substitutions that he made. Because I've got the list of substitutions here. Half-time, Mount for Zirkzee. As an actual substitution, no issues with that whatsoever. The question is, why was that not the position at the start? It just makes more sense to have a natural goal scorer with your creative midfielder than two creative midfielders. To me, that was just absolutely baffling why Mason Mount started again. And if the plan was always to take off Bruno, then you could have had Mount to come on to replace him. Anyway, so that was the first substitution, but the issue there was why didn't Zirkzee start? Second substitution, Garnacho for Rashford. Good decision. Fair enough. Rashford's been poor once again. Obviously, his goal was disallowed for offside. We've already talked about how many times Rashford was offside in the game. He needs to do better. So Garnacho coming on made sense. And obviously, he thought that substitution worked perfectly because it almost got us a goal if it wasn't ruled out for offside. Then the double change on 79 minutes. Bruno Fernandes and Harry Maguire for Scott McTominay and Matthias de Ligt. Why? Maguire wasn't tired. Yes, you can argue he made the mistake for the first goal. So punish him by dropping him for the next game. Don't punish him by taking him off with 10 minutes left, creating a situation where the defence is completely unorganised, setting up a situation where 10 minutes later you're conceding because your backline has no coordination because Harry Maguire's not in the pitch anymore and he was the one organising the defence, meaning that we end up conceding a last-minute defeat goal. And why would you ever take Bruno Fernandes off unless he's injured? Like, I know people keep going about, oh, he's got to have the ball to take off Bruno when he's not playing well. Oh, he's got to have the when Bruno's not playing well. I've already spoken about it. The natural replacement for Bruno Fernandes was no longer available. Mason Mount started the game and got taken off. You don't take off Bruno and put on Scott McTominay when Scott McTominay is not a creative midfielder. Scott McTominay's only real use is to get goals late in the game, which I understand bringing him on, but then bring him on for Casemiro. Don't bring him on for Bruno Fernandes. Bring him on for Kobbie Mainoo. Don't bring him off for Bruno Fernandes. And then you put him up front with Zirkzee, and they're just two big players crashing into each other, and they're taking up each other's spaces. And it's just, it makes no sense. All creativity went out the window because we no longer had a creative midfielder on the pitch. And then he compounded it even further by taking Ahmad off and putting Antony on. Ahmad was our best player. He scored the goal. He was causing problems. You thought after those 10 minutes where Bruno had gone off and weren't creating anything, the solution was to bring on Antony, essentially a worse version of Ahmad who was already doing damage. Absolutely mind-boggling managerial decisions from Erik ten Hag in that game. And look, it's a massive worry because our next game is Liverpool. And they look absolutely everything we're not right now. Defensively organised, quick on the counter-attack, not getting caught out offside, clinical when they have their chances, dangerous on set pieces, considering how poor we are at set pieces. It's a real worry that we go to the game at Old Trafford next week where we could be on the receiving end of another Liverpool thumping with new management in charge. And if Arne Slot comes to Old Trafford and absolutely embarrasses Erik ten Hag, it's a real bad look because, you know, the joke is supposed to be that Arne Slot is Erik ten Hag 2.0. He's the bald Dutch manager coming from the Dutch league that slightly overachieved with a Dutch team like Feyenoord, like Ten Hag overachieved with Ajax in the Champions League. If he comes to Old Trafford with that Liverpool team, with that organisation, with that clinical play, and beats us by 3 or 4 goals, it's a real bad look for Erik ten Hag, and the questions are going to be start throwing around again. But like I say, it's disappointing how we've lost that game because ultimately, on another day, we win that game 2-1 if the bit of luck goes our way. But like I've already spoken about, for me, it's not luck when your striker isn't in the striker position. Yes, it is a little unlucky that it bounces off his knee. But if he's in the right position to begin with, he scores from the first ball, not from the second ball. And the defensive set plays I've been banging on about for 18 months now. So if I can see it and all these other teams are starting to exploit it, something seriously has to be done, and very soon. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. This has probably been my longest reaction video to a game ever because it is one of my most frustrating reactions ever. But thank you very much for watching. Leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. Don't forget to like the video as well. I'll see you very soon.